Again, welcome everybody. This is brought to you by Vorus and my company Stick and Grow. And we are going to be talking about cold emails that convert. Now, what are the four big mistakes that people make when creating cold emails? There's really 4.5 of them, but the four big ones that I've come across typically are, number one, they're too long. So no need to read through this whole thing, don't worry. But it is a huge wall of text. One of the things that I want you to think about is, what does the email actually look like when somebody pulls it up on their screen, whether it's on their mobile phone, whether it's on their desktop. The look and feel of the email is important. As I pulled this up, you probably had a little bit of a visceral reaction. The text is small. It's a huge wall of text. What the heck's going on here? This is not a good email, and it is something that unfortunately too many companies do. This just happens to be a slightly exaggerated version of one. So again, it creates a little bit of an, do I really want to read this? You know, think about your prospect getting an email at 3 a.m. They might be getting up to go get a drink of water. Do they want to read this at 3 a.m.? Well, that's really the bar we have to clear. The formatting's terrible, and there's actually not a bad offer necessarily. I mean, it's not the best one, but the offer is buried so deep inside here that we don't even know really what the person's going to be talking about. Now, how do we go from here to here? So again, before, I want to just read a couple lines here. It gives me immense pleasure to inform you that our evaluation panel has shortlisted Vorus to feature as one of the, already I hope you're falling asleep here, versus something like this, where you go, hi Dan, do you currently use PR to increase your reach? I'm with Blank Magazine, where we have 129,000 C-level subscribers in the US. We're releasing our top 10 list of sales training companies, and I think you're a great contender. Mind if I ask a few qualifying questions? The difference here is very much just in the length. If you see over here, if you see my mouse, this 129,000 people, that stat is buried in there. They have all these different people, but really all I care about is its C-level, really. What we want to do is we want to pull the main value point that you have as a company out as quickly as possible, as directly as possible, and make it as relevant as possible to the specific persona that you're messaging. That by itself is better than any sort of sneaky fake personalization that you could possibly do, right? This is direct, it's valuable, and it's clear. It's focused, efficient, and it focuses on the best benefit. It also makes it easy for the reader to digest, to understand, and to actually reply to. Now, if the first problem was it's too long, the second problem is it's too unclear. So this person has sent a short message, to be fair, but it is unclear what the heck she actually means here. So it says, hi Dan, I'm this person with the software design and development studio. I wanted to touch base on possible cooperation between our companies. Is that something you're open to discussing? Look, I know it's a sales email, right? I think we all do. But possible cooperation is so vague that I mean, do they build websites? Are they going to build me an app? What's the offer? If you don't make the offer clear, or at least you don't hone in on a specific problem that the prospect is facing, how is that person expected to understand what the conversation is going to be about? That's so important, and it's really one of the first things that gets lost in text. So I want you to think about that. Are you honing in on a problem? Are you describing a solution? At least one of those has to be made. So what does cooperation mean? What are we going to discuss? And then this is what it looks like if we fix it. So some more length, as you see. So again, before, possible cooperation, are you open to discussing? 2, hi Dan, I run a software and design and development studio specializing in tools for consulting companies. For you, okay? I noticed that you have a bunch of models and calculators in your free resources section. Have you considered turning these into embeddable versions your readers can use directly on the site? So I'm cheating a little bit here because I'm using Vorus as the example. And on Vorus, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of content. Well, maybe this person can come in and turn that into more interactive stuff, right? That's something that I would be very interested as, well, back then, the CMO of Vorus. I think that is something that might be a question in that prospect's head. So I want you to think about that again. Are you honing in on something specific, actionable, and almost tangibly valuable to the person in question? So we're looking for relevance. We're looking for a little bit of personalization, not with fluffy stuff like, oh, I noticed, I really like your LinkedIn photo because you're wearing a hat. Oh, I noticed that you live in Denver. Well, okay, that's all correct stuff maybe. But is it really business connected? No, not at all. And it's not going to be useful. And it is going to be useful if you get to specific value, right? This feels like something that was actually written for me. And it's not because of any fluffy stuff. It's because of the business stuff. Okay. And then it ends on a specific question. That's an important point too. It makes it a lot easier for me to respond to. Now, if problem number 1 was too long, problem number 2 was unclear, problem number 3 is being salesy. So just visually, you should notice that a couple things here pop up. The use of bold, the use of all caps, the use of a bunch of links. This is all screaming, this is not a normal email, this is a sales email. So the person before even reading it is probably going to be processing in their heads, oh, wait a minute, my alarm bells are ringing. There's going to be a sales conversation that I'm going to be pushed into. So again, this feels like I'm being yelled at a little bit. It's all about the company. So this reads, I'm actually going to read this one instead of skipping through it. So my name is blank, the CEO at a commission-based appointment setting agency. Our laser-focused approach to creating profitable appointment setting campaigns for our clients stands on 4 core principles. This. Here's a link to more explainer videos. I would love the opportunity to learn more about your business, your challenges and goals, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, it's all by the person and not about me. Nothing's about my problems. It's basically showing up and saying, here's what I stand for. I do this, I do that. Are you interested? The formatting is rough. There's 3 CTAs technically because there's a question and 2 links to click. So there's a lot there. You should only have 1. And the energy feels like it's dialed way up because of the all caps, the exclamation marks, all kinds of things that I don't think I would really send out in a professional cold email. Yeah, and then lastly, I mentioned there are 4.5 problems. The half problem is the fake flattery. You'll get a lot of emails like this which say, oh, it's amazing that you went to Harvard. I can't believe it. Anyway, well, you want to talk sales with me? And it's kind of rough. Or I noticed, I've been blown away by your LinkedIn content. I'm so impressed with your website, comma, anyway, unrelated point, you want to get on a sales conversation with me? It's a terrible way to open a conversation. So instead of this guy, why not something like this? So a very different subject line, right? Leads for Voris. Hi, Dan, I'm the founder at blank. We're a commission-based lead agency with experience in the B2B sales space. Again, for me, I won't pretend to know your exact lead setup, but we might be able to help in that department. We've got a plug and play setup that typically drives results in the first 30 days and takes about an hour to onboard. Would you like to test it out for free? Again, I'm cheating here because I can make up the offer because I'm just rewriting this guy's emails. But that's the kind of offer that would be a lot more I guess, practical, a lot more valuable, and a lot more clear. This is about me. It's not about the sender, me and the prospect, I mean. This is honing in on a specific problem, and it shows that there's a lot of the subconscious questions get answered. How long is this going to take? Well, 30 days to see results. Well, how long does it take to set up? An hour to onboard. Okay, well, great. You've almost eliminated or checked off a couple of boxes that are in my head as the prospect automatically in just 4 lines, I guess, here. So again, long, unclear, salesy, right? And then the fourth one is being too technical. So if you want to remember these, they spell out lust, right? Long, unclear, salesy, and then overly technical. So this one here is probably a pretty good offer, if I'm honest, but it's so confusing. And again, I'm just going to dive into the middle right around here and read this to you. It says, every quarter, our team works with several potential companies that are just starting out or are already successful with influencers. So we do this and we do this, and are interested in integrations on influencers, YouTube and TikTok and Instagram channels. We're in the process of selecting several companies and decided that this company and your company might be a good fit. Our goal is to build a partnership and a long-term relationship between influencers and your brand. We would like to offer the placement of your integrations with our influencers in social media, such as YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Also, we can do all this other stuff. That's a pretty complicated way. I understand what the person's generally talking about, but they're making it pretty confusing. Yes, it is also long and sort of salesy. There's a lot of steps to actually getting started with this, or at least it feels that way. And basically, they jump into the how-to. This often happens with technical founders or technical companies where they have a great product and they're so excited to talk about it to the prospects that they jump into that how-to or how to do this so quickly that it basically makes things cloudy. It makes things confusing. It makes things sort of feel like we're rushing things. And I haven't had a chance to breathe yet. I still don't really understand what the value is. And we're just suddenly jumping into essentially the features and the steps. So instead of this, here's this. So again, I'm cheating here because I'm using Voris as an example, and I could go to a couple of things that I knew were happening. But instead of this, I said this. Look, hi Dan, I checked out your YouTube channel and noticed, despite some great overall growth, performance took a hit over the last couple of months. And then I have a screenshot of this. We help channels like yours maintain and build momentum by connecting with niche influencers. This year, we've already helped over 50 channels 2x within 3 months of working together. Is that something you'd be interested in? And then, goodbye. This is A great way to, I mean, I think send out something that is personalized because it's a little bit of research. I used a website called Social Blade to grab Voris's YouTube performance at the time. You can do this with Shield for LinkedIn. You can do this with so many different tools for people's actual assets. And then this one happens to be focused on YouTube because Voris was on YouTube at that point and was not on the other channels as actively. Again, focus down, make it specific. And then if you can show proof that there's a problem that you can help with, if you bring it up politely, that's a great way to open an email. Many people send out something like, I noticed your website was awful. I don't want to help. Don't do that, okay? But do it intelligently. So focus on one issue, offer one benefit, and then don't overdo all the other stuff we looked at the last email about all these different complicated steps we could do. That's great for the future, but where do we start? Okay. And then, so real quick recap, the 4 problems were too long, unclear, salesy, and overly technical, lust, L-U-S-T. And then there's a half problem in there about fake personalization and flattery and all that other stuff. So instead of that, I'm going to go through the 5 email campaign that I've been using with clients that we use, that Voris still uses at least sometimes, and then that I use with the clients that I work with. Here are the 5 emails. The structure goes as follows. Number 1, we hit out an icebreaker. Number 2, we have a proof email. And then number 3, we have a how it works email, then another proof email, and then a see you later. The reason it says proof A and proof B, I like to do one proof email that's very deep on one very relevant example. So if you have a case study that's relevant to this type of prospect, this is great. And then proof B might be a broad net that's spread. Like, look at these different companies that we've worked with. We've been around in business for 20 years. We've been, things that you can sort of go broad with. It's different for every company. And technically you could do case study. You could do testimonial if you want to, but put your best 2 feet forward if you can with proof. It's very important in these emails. The how it works is a very simple email we'll get into in a second, and then the see you later we'll cover it in a minute. I'm going to show you these templates, but I want to be very clear. I think it's very important for you to think of frameworks rather than templates. So look at what I'm showing you, but think about the underlying frameworks. Don't get focused on the word choice so much as the structure of the emails themselves, okay? So you can go ahead and take a screenshot of these as we go through. So email number 1 is the icebreaker. So, hi, Bob. Then here's a specific pain point about the company. That's actually what we do here. Results are typically, and then how do we measure results? Are you interested? Again, you can change the wording around this in any way you like, but I would be very clear about being very specific, showing some light proof of some know-how, and then a soft CTA like, are you interested? Is this worth a chat? What do you think? That type of thing. Okay, so take a screenshot of this one, and then we're going to move on. So here's 1. Here's 2, the proof email, first proof email. So this one's the broad one. Hi, Bob. If you're looking for this specific solution, you might be looking for for tangible results. A few of ours, we helped this company achieve this outcome. And then if you can't use the names, you can at least say we helped a company, achieve whatever, 2x, 3x, 10x. We helped this company achieve the outcome. And I like to use 3 bullet points if you can, 3 to 5 maximum. That's what I would shoot for. I would pretend to know the ins and outs of your business, but I think we might be able to help. I think a little bit of a light uncertainty, a little bit of politeness. It's a nice way to transition to the sales, question, which is this worth a chat? So this one is important. And like I said in the notes here, the email is a little focused on us here as the company and not on the recipients, which is why it's important to actually show what the results are. All right. So hopefully you can take a screenshot of this guy. Let's keep going to the 3rd email. And then, so Arbaz, I'm going to answer that in the Q&A. Great question. So the how it works email, here we go. So hi, Bob. When I speak to readers like you, I hear a lot of questions about how this problem can be solved in this time frame. Here's a high-level breakdown of our approach. Step 1, a one-liner. Step 2, a one-liner. So this might read, step 1, you're going to talk to somebody from my team. Step 2, we're going to integrate with your system. Step 3, we're going to have the kickoff and then make sure that everything's up and running. Boom, something like that. Very, very simple. Boil it down to make it as simple as possible. Don't give them 20 steps. There are probably 20 steps that you do, but I want you to boil it down to what are the 3. I don't want you to go beyond 3. In this time frame, you can go from this problem to this outcome. This structure is great, by the way. This works very well. If you're up for a quick call, I can show you exactly what it would look like for you. Book a time here. You'll notice I transition here in email number 3 to a hard CTA. This is where I put a booking link in there. And I want this to be I don't care if this is the most boring email in the world. I want this to be clear. Clarity trumps all here. It should feel like it's really easy for the person to take action with. Okay. So hopefully you took a screenshot of this. If not, I'll stay on here another 3 or 4 seconds. Up, up, up. And then let's go to email number 4, which is going to be the proof B. So this is where you go deep on on the problem, really. So thought you'd find this relatable. We helped company X overcome this common problem. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. Here's the result. Right? Very, very simple, and boil it down to one-liners. Again, sort of the rule of threes here. If you're interested in doing the same, let's talk. And then another hard CTA. Grab a time with me here. Now, the problem, solution, and result. Some copywriters and content writers might bristle at this and say, "Oh, it's too boring to present it this way." Guess what? In sales emails, we want it to be boring. We want the result to be impressive, but we want it to be laid out in a way that's going to be very, very easy to understand quickly, and therefore easy to remember, and therefore also easy to share with your team. That's what we want to have happen. So the more relevant the case study, the better. Okay. If you don't have the formal case studies, then at least you can outline a relevant, a relevant story in brief. And if you don't have the relevant story, maybe it's time to go get some customer stories and case studies. You can, and maybe that's an answer to Arbaz's question in chat. One thing I would highlight is if you don't have this stuff, you can always put in another type of explainer. You can always put in another type of, you can put in a bump email if you like. This type of campaign can be customized as you see fit. But I think it is very important as a company to be able to lead with your proof if you have it. And then finally, I like to close campaigns off with what I call a see you later email versus a goodbye email. So a lot of people will write a goodbye email that reads something like this, where they go, okay, well, you never replied to me, so I will never respond to you again. I'm very sorry for disturbing you. Or, I haven't heard from you, so reply here, and then I will never respond to you again. That, I believe, is sort of shooting yourself in the foot, because you don't know the reason they didn't reply. They might have been on vacation. They might have been busy. Instead of a hard stop like this, I like to end the campaign with a see you later that ends on a positive note. So this reads, "Hi, Bob. We haven't had a chance to connect, but I wanted to leave you with something you find useful. Here's our most relevant resource. It'll help you deal with the challenges around this problem. Basically, here's something of value. Here's what you'll learn from it. This could be a little academy. This could be a download link. This could be a PDF. This could be some. I want you to think of something that's actually tangibly valuable to the reader." And again, I'm going to say this. You could put in some random checklist and it could be a pretty crappy email. But if you put in some real thought into how you can really help these people, and we'll get into this in a second, you can create something awesome here. Okay. And it's a totally different vibe, because you can come back to this person in 6 months or something and say, "Hey, since you got this, can I send you this?" Or, "Hey, did you get a chance to open this and read it?" Then the person will see nothing but positivity in the thread of conversation that you have with them. This is a slightly different thing. So let's keep going here. And yeah, that's funny, Naomi. So instead of overcomplicating it, let me boil it down to something very, very simple. I want your cold emails, especially that first cold email that goes out, to be as short as possible, as brief as possible, as direct as possible. Make it concise. If it's under 50 words, even better. But at least try to keep it below 75. There's really no reason to go beyond that. If you're having trouble explaining yourself in more than 75 words, I would suggest that you have a little bit of a problem as a company communicating your value. Okay, so that's really what I want to focus on. This is about putting constraints on your writing to make it better. Again, as a copywriter, one of the best things you can do for your communication and your messaging is to put a constraint on it, because it forces you to be better, forces you to be more direct and more focused. By being more specific, you keep it focused on one persona and one problem. And then finally, by being relevant, by choosing the most pressing issue that you solve for them, you will automatically have your best foot forward with them. So that's what I would suggest. This isn't really a style guide so much as a little mini guidebook, I guess, here of three guiding principles. But I hope this is helpful. And this is how you should be thinking of cold emails in general. Okay. Now, I want to talk about one killer secret weapon, right? Especially in that first cold email. I want to talk about value. So if you're reaching out to people that you can help, how can you go from saying, "Hey, I promise I can help you with this problem. Do you want to talk?" Or can you do something to show them that you can help with the problem? Then do you want to talk? And what I mean by that is by building a very simple and specific resource for them. So we sometimes call these lead magnets in marketing. Sometimes they're calculators, they're resources, they're assets. I'm really not sure what the best term is when used in a sales context, but I think building something that's ultra relevant. And we have some examples here. These could be some templates. These could be playbooks. These could be calculators. There's all kinds of different things that you could build. If you choose checklists, they've really got to be great. These are things where I'd offer that you should really nail down how to be very, very, very valuable for the person in that first email. So imagine the difference between saying, "Hey, I promise I can help, save money on your blank," versus, "Hey, I actually have this calculator for you. Would you like to use it? And that might help if you're trying to solve this problem." And then you're most likely going to get a yes on the second one. The odds are going to be way higher. So immediate value is what I'm looking for. Now, what happens if the response from you is, "I don't have the time and resources, et cetera, to do this"? Number one, talk to your customers. They often will tell you directly. Um, we can talk about this ChatGPT flow in a second, and we can go through this in the Q&A actually to build one of these for one of you folks out there if you'd like. But basically, the ChatGPT flow is we're going to identify a persona with your website, then generate a big list of specific pain points. Then we're going to hone those down into some lead magnet ideas, rank those ideas, and then finally build the asset. Often you can probably build the asset, at least 80% of it, in something like ChatGPT or Claude. So I think this is a massive game changer for folks sending out cold emails. And if you would like, I can get into this in the Q&A and spend a little time, but I'd like to go through with a real example instead of just talking about theory. So if somebody, Sam, if you want to message me on LinkedIn, I can send it to you. So let us go on here, and yeah, this pops into the icebreaker. So this hopefully will help you write cold emails that are more focused. They're going to help you write cold emails that are easier to understand and write emails that are more relevant to the prospect. So before I wrap up here and go into Q&A, if anybody wants to go through this process with me right now in the Q&A session, why don't you pop your website into chat, and then I'll pull it up and we can run through this process to actually find what's going to be your hook in that first cold email. So I gave you the templates, which you should have. If you don't, just message me. But then we can figure out what your hook should be in a quick chat flow. And I hope that's helpful for everybody to sort of run through together. So if you want this, go ahead and pop your company website, your URL into our chat, and then I will pick one for the Q&A. And then we can also answer more general questions if you have them. So with that said, I also have this going on. I'm doing some free audits. If you go to this website, which I can go down and pop into chat, you'll get a free audit of your the email or the resource you're building, all the ChatGPT prompts I use for this, and then the campaign framework that I mentioned. And let me just put this in chat over here and pop this in. So please check that out. I am available, and I do this all day long with folks. So there's that, and then next up here is I mentioned the survey. You can get all future classes are over at voris.com/events. So you'll see a calendar of that stuff. We have some really good ones coming up, and I'm actually doing 3 in a row. So I'm doing this one, and then I'm doing the next 2. And the next 2 are going to be a lot more about sort of diving deep into some of the AI coaching and personalization. It's going to be really interesting stuff. Now, I mentioned the survey. Laura, you asked about the survey. I just posted the survey link in chat. So please, cannot emphasize this enough. It's very important for you all to go ahead and jump into this and then basically give you some feedback here because we really want to know how this is going for you and then also for future topics. So please jump in and fill that out. Now, with that said, let's jump into some actual building of some lead magnets. So yeah, Kristen, let me do that actually right now for you. I'm going to run through these again because I saw a couple of people ask. So let me pull this up real quick, and then please take a screenshot, and then we can move on. So here's one. I'll spend a couple seconds here. And here's 2. And basically, if you connect with me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message, I can send this to you. I have this in a doc, in a Voris doc. So that's very simple. And I think that's the best use of time for everybody. So let me pull up somebody's website and go through it. Let me go through and so let me just see who is. Let me go into Jamie's over here, and is it Anvil Logic? My eyes are failing me, my friends. So let's go to anvillogic.com. Very interesting. Okay, detection Nice. All right. So you have a full report here, which is great. That means you have a ton of content that you can build off of this, and it means you have something you can share in that see you later email. So that's automatically something I would choose. Or you probably have some more here. You have some company love. That's great. So you have a bunch of testimonials. Basically, you have everything you need to build an awesome cold email campaign. I can see this within a few seconds here. But what I want to do really is grab this and then walk through the Chat GPT flow with you all. So hopefully this is helpful. And then we zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're working on. So let's do that. Let me get that. And then let's say I'm working on my cold emails. First, I want to show you my site. Can you look at it and tell me what you think I do? So first things first, anybody with ChatGPT, I'm using 4.5, but you can use any of the, I mean, if you use really, I think 4.0, almost all of them will let you look at a website. Probably should have picked 4.0 for this exercise because it's going to take a little longer. But what it should do is come back with a pretty accurate representation of what you actually do. Let's see if I can. Whoops. Yeah, let me go ahead and start this again because this is going to take a little bit longer. I want to work on my cold emails. Here's my site. Please take a look at it and tell me what you think I do. Don't write the emails yet. That's a lot faster. So most of the time it does a great job of summarizing things and pulling data right from your site. So let's go on. Next here is, okay, great. Who do you think is my ideal buyer avatar? Security leader for managing threat detection, right? That makes a lot of sense. So Jamie, I hope you're seeing this and sort of nodding along here. And I'm actually gonna take you away from the screen so I can you can see the prompting a little bit more clearly. There we go. So it goes through this. It does a pretty extensive buyer avatar, which is probably helpful for anybody in here anyways. Now, please expand their pain points to a list of 25 specific bullet points. I want you to frame each one as a problem statement in the form of a question from the POV of this avatar. And what this does is it helps it sort of think through a lot of mini problems that you can use as hooks if you want to in your content or your emails. I think getting this in a big quantity is helpful. So I'm running through this at speed because I'm doing this in front of you all and I don't want to waste time, but this is a very helpful exercise to do for anybody here. So this is probably, maybe not every single one is perfect, but a lot of them are probably very, very relevant to what you do, Jamie. So let's keep going here. Say, great. I want you to find underlying patterns. What out of the box, whoops, creative insights can you give me? So it comes up with 5 key patterns or underlying the elements, let's say. And then these could be the juice for some of the lead magnets, which we'll get into in 1 second. We're almost done here. There's only 2 more steps. So I think there's some pretty cool stuff here. This is a lot of interesting messaging angles too, some strategic copy that you could probably think of. So this could be for blog posts. This could be for an entire landing page on your website. Maybe, in terms of how to do this, for example. Each one of these could be a very, very valuable thing for you, Jamie. And if you want, just ping me in LinkedIn and I'll send you this chat. So the big ideas and takeaways. Believe me, ChatGPT it's not a great copywriter, but it's very, very good for analysis. So if you're not doing some sort of flow like this with your teams, you should be. So let's keep going here. Say, great. Now I want you to come up with lead magnet ideas that I can use in a cold email to this avatar. Here are some guidelines. So lead magnet must be easy to consume in under 15 minutes. Well, lead magnet must be must solve a very specific pain point. Well, lead magnet must feel premium, and then the lead magnet must be immediately actionable. Give me 10 ideas and then rank the top 3. So here we go. Again, not all of these are going to be necessarily perfect, but this is the process. You can run through this a couple times. You can say, I like ideas 1, 2, and 6, and then ask it to run it again, and it comes up with better and better stuff. So detection rule generator, that might be interesting. A stock efficiency playbook, probably very easy to put together. A savings calculator, maybe, if I'm not sure how easy that is, but that sounds like it could be good. This is more like an inbound thing that you could create. I don't think it's good for cold emails. Oh, sorry, cold outreach in general, but it's good for inbound. And then a side-by-side comparison. This might be good for a landing page on the site. So I hope you see that you can build 1 or 2 of these pretty easily and suddenly have some really, really strong stuff here. So number 1, it says this cost reduction cheat sheet. Probably not bad, actually. Cost reduction cheat sheet might be good. This one that I liked, and then this one that I did not like as much. So this is, yeah, sure thing. Here we go. You wanted my prompt. Here's the prompt. So basically, to summarize, we went from website to persona, to persona's pain points, to the underlying patterns, to the lead magnet ideas. Okay, those are the steps. And I think that this is a very, very easy thing to do. Now, we can go through one more person's thing here. We can go through another company, or we can go through other cold email questions. So what cold email questions do you have? I just want to make sure that I'm not diving too deep into the ChatGPT stuff without actually addressing cold email problems. Let's see. So one of the ones I get all the time is for going through something like, do we use images in cold emails or not? Deliverability questions. And I think that those are all important technical questions. But if you have something that's just a absolute banger piece of an asset that people react to, I want you to use it in the cold emails. Okay, especially if it's focused to that specific persona. So best subject lines. It's a great question, Jessica. The subject line should be basically, let's say, 2 to 4 words of the most boring way to describe what's inside the email. I don't want it to be flashy. I don't want to use. I'd never use somebody's name in a subject line. So an example going back to this guy over here. If you look at some of the examples I have here, So for this one, cooperation is an option. I changed that to turn your content into software. So I cheated a little. I went to 5 words, but this is a question. I would also lowercase everything, frankly. That's a 1-word change I would make. Leads for Voris question. I happen to like the questions. Voris's YouTube growth question. You'll notice I'm not being creative here. This is very, very direct and very and very easy to do. So Amitesh, how to ensure that your emails are not landing on spam. So I think it's worth investing an hour of your time to hire a technical consultant who can come in and show you the best ways to do things. I'll tell you that from briefly, the biggest problem is that people don't warm up the emails that the inboxes that they're using, and basically burning entire accounts because they're sending from an account that Google will have marked as spam. So you want to use something. If you use Instantly, for example, Instantly will now automatically warm up your emails for, I think it takes about a month, 3 weeks to a month, and then it'll be ready for you to start sending cold emails from. So I like Instantly a lot. I think it's a great platform. I would use it, and it sort of takes care of a lot of the technical questions kind of automatically. If you want to get deeper on that, you hire somebody who knows what they're talking about. And Joe Petruzzi on LinkedIn is one guy I would recommend. Joe Petruzzi. And I think that's, yeah, and then Kellen Casebeer is another one. So, Kellen Casebeer, these are the two names that I go to for the technical questions. But again, just go to Instantly, set it up, and then you should have something easy to use. Alex, any email cadence that you've seen work? The one that I just showed you. This one is the one that I use for pretty much everything. I obviously will adapt it, but this is what I use. I use icebreaker, proof, how it works, proof, see you later. And then let's go to the metrics considered for success, David. And then Martin, we're going to go through another example, don't worry. What metrics do you consider success for your cold email campaigns? General rules of thumb. So the most important thing I can describe to you is that a lot of people get very hung up on this question, and there are industry standard performance numbers. I don't think they matter. I think it's the most important thing you can do is to email somebody specific from your list. I mean, a specific persona, build a list for that person, that persona, I should say, and then create a baseline. What you want to give your copywriter, basically, or whoever's doing the emails, is a baseline. You need to say, okay, look, we sent this out to 500 people, to 1,000 people, whatever the number is, and here are the numbers we got back. We got a 20% open rate. We got a 0.1 reply rate, let's say, and then maybe we look at that and we say, look, that reply rate is way too low. We need to get this higher. But you can make some educated guesses, but the most important thing is create the baseline, and then next month try to improve it. That's the most important thing you can do, is create your own baseline and understand you as a company with your audience, what works, okay, and what doesn't. So let's go here. Martin, I'll come back to you. Amitesh, can we send link attachments? No, no, because you don't want them to. It's not about giving them more information about you. The job is because, again, this comes down to what I talked about constraints. You want to limit yourself so that you're communicating enough to get the person interested to talk to you in just a couple of lines. If you say, I'm going to throw you a book that I wrote, I'm going to throw you my website, I'm going to show you an hour-long YouTube tutorial, wow, it's overwhelming. And I'm exaggerating here, Amitesh, a little bit, but the point is you have to do everything in the email itself. So this is the space you have to convince the customer, the prospect, to potentially talk to you. Okay, this is the space you have, nothing else. Okay, good question though. So Alex, time in between the emails. Oh, the cadence. I'm sorry. That was a yes. Sometimes that gets used interchangeably. I would send this kind of email sequence probably every other day. So I'd send icebreaker, then 2 days later, then 2 days later, then 2 days later, for simplicity. You can experiment with that and see if anything changes, but that's generally roughly what I would do. And then in terms of a see you later email followed by a revival email, I think 6 months is a fair, some people do it in 60 days, 90 days, but I think 6 months is a fair shot. And then let's keep going here. Keith, unfortunately, I can't copy paste them into chat because chat is a limited character set. But if you message me on LinkedIn, I'll send you the full doc, no problem. Okay. And then, yep. Thanks, David. You're right. So let's keep going here. And let's go to if tracking if the email was open or not important. Is it just the dopamine game of our own brains? That's a little bit of both, I think. Dimitro, if you look at if things are getting open, of course it's important. And if you are viewing things as being open and then forwarded, and then it's been opened 15 times in the last 24 hours, the person's probably there. So if you want to experiment with it, you might want to send a bump email at that point. That's something like a one-liner, something very, very short that says, hey, I noticed, I noticed you opened the deck that I shot you, or I noticed you've looked at the email a few times. Just curious, is there something I can do to make it easier to speak? You can ask that sort of question. Maybe not those exact words, but I would send a bump there potentially. So let's keep going here. Do you recommend mixing cold outreach with LinkedIn in-mails? Sure, you can do that. I think that the cold emails and LinkedIn DMs in general are fine. I prefer the DMs to the in-mails because the in-mails always. I've never received a good LinkedIn in-mail ever, which is probably a pretty shocking thing to say out loud, at least for me. But if you want to send a DM, I'd sure send a DM, no problem. I would send a connection request with no note, and then I would send a DM that simply says hello, that has no pressing, no sales conversation. And then I might send a DM 2 weeks later to actually start engaging in a sales conversation. So let's go here. Ahmed, is it bad to have colored text in the signature? Will this trigger spam? I don't think it will trigger spam. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. And I don't think it's a bad thing if it's in the signature. Colored text anywhere else is a no-no for sure. So yeah, you did. Amitesh says we did multiple campaigns and found that 10 to 15% of the audience is always opening and clicking, but they do not respond back. What should be done in such cases? So instead of clicking a link, ask them to reply back to you. So let's say 10 to 15% open rate is still a little bit low, but that's another story. If you get the 15% open rates, and then let's say that you have people clicking at some level and then never responding to you, I would get rid of the link completely, so no link, and then I would try to say some sort of yes or no question to demonstrate interest. So I've used interested ? Is this relevant? Is this worth a chat? What do you think? Those kinds of questions are easy ways to start to generate a conversation. So let's keep going here. What extension would you recommend for tracking if messages were read? There's a bunch, honestly. I currently don't use one, but because it's just not one that it's not a lot of emphasis that I put on it personally. I know that Lavender has some really good stuff out there for emails in general, so I might check them out, and Lemlist as well. So you might want to check out those two companies. If you want, message me on LinkedIn, and I'll look into it today, and I might have a better answer for you. But Lemlist probably is Lemlist and Lavender probably will have a solution for you in there. So let's keep going here. Thoughts on using emojis in cold emails or subject lines? Definitely not in subject lines. Maybe in the email if it feels natural. But I think this is something basically that's changing. If you're in a legacy industry, like you're talking to lawyers or you're talking to accountants, then it's definitely no. But if it's something where you're messaging a younger audience and it's one that's maybe a little bit more emoji friendly, it's okay to use it. But it very much depends on the audience you're trying to speak to. So let us go to Phil, where to get a list of relevant email addresses. Well, that's a whole different story when list building, and Kyle can probably talk to you better on that. But I think Apollo is a great source. You can go to, and there's literally dozens of these companies that will that you can use to build lists with. So David, is it your opinion that subtle minimal use of bold text is less good or even bad? I would say any bold text is bad. I see no reason to use bold text almost ever in any cold email. So that's that. I appreciate the questions. I think we have time to run through one more example of this ChatGPT process, if you'd like. So I think it's useful. So let's go into Martin at inmarket.com. So let's go to here, go to inmarket.com. And we connect brands and consumers when and where it matters most. Okay, interesting. Real-time connections with consumers across your entire media mix to drive real-world impact. Okay. Well, let's go to here. Let's go to here, and then let's start a new chat. And then the same thing goes here. Like your help with, and I'll try to alter these a little bit so you see it's really just the frameworks, not the exact templates. I'd like your help with my messaging. Here's my website. First, take a look at the site and tell me what you think we do. Cool. So let's go to here. Who do you think my single most important buyer avatar is? Please, because I figure with a product like this, you probably have quite a few people you can sell to. Please be specific and choose one human role. And by the way, I want to point out, I'm doing this by persona. You should do this for every persona that you have at your company, essentially. Okay, this is how important I think this type of thing is. And by the way, I'm going to take one more time to say, please fill out the survey I put in chat. I'm actually going to put this in one more time here before continuing into the into Martin's stuff here. So here's this. Please fill this out if this is helpful for you. It genuinely does a ton for us for future topics. So here we go. So it's chosen a VP of media and advertising at a large consumer brand or retail company. That makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and run with it. Martin, if you want to correct me on this, feel free. But let's keep going here, and I will go on to Amitesh. You have to go through the link that I posted in chat. There's no follow-up email that I'm sending. So this role, we identified the role. Let's go into great. Please expand the pain points into a list 25 specific bullets. Please frame each one as a problem statement in the form of a question from the POV of the avatar. And I really want you guys to think how useful this type of process can be for strategic brainstorming in general with an audience, or sorry, internally as a team. You can do this as a group, you can do this individually, you can do this per persona, you can do this per vertical. But the more that you have this is basically feeding you content topics on a platter. This is feeding you email topics on a platter. This is something that marketing and sales can very much come together on. What underlying patterns do you see here? Please look for out of the box creative insights that I might have missed. You can see I'm changing. I mean, it's the same questions I'm asking. I'm just changing the words around a little bit because this is not about exact copy pasting stuff. I want you to have a conversation with the AI to actually come up with good material for your purposes. So this is very interesting, how the VP of media is trapped between two timelines. I think that's very important. They're overloaded with data, but starving for insights, probably very true. So Martin, I hope this is all like starting to send off some triggers in your brain. Number one fear is spending millions and having nothing to show for it. I mean, believe me, this is something that would keep somebody up, the CMO, like a VP of marketing, up all night. So there's a lot, there's some brilliant stuff in here. Honestly, Martin, this is, please reach out to me and I'll send you this. This is really, really good. So let's finally stop here and say, great, now create 10 lead magnet ideas for this avatar. Here are some guidelines. Guidelines must be easy to consume in less than 15 minutes. It must be immediately actionable. It must solve a very specific pain point. And then it must feel ultra premium to the reader. Please give me 10 ideas and then rank the top 3 and explain your reasoning. So the 7-minute media waste audit, that's interesting. The cheat sheet, no, I don't love the cheat sheet. The audience blueprint, so 5 fast ways to stop wasting impressions. I think that could be really good. Real-time optimization, that's not bad. CFO ready marketing report template, that's probably pretty good. And then these are a little more complicated, like the decoder over here, the dashboard. The calculator's easy to build, but it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. If you can do it, you can really use it a lot though. And maybe this sort of instant messaging playbook, I'm not sure. These are a little weaker, Martin. So I think that this one might need to, yeah, this one probably is the best actually. You might want to consider doing this again and running through the prompt again and saying, look, I only like number 1, and this is the only one I liked. So do it again. And just guiding it just literally one more time will produce better and better results. So that's that. Thank you all for joining. Any more questions on cold emails, or should we wrap it up here? Let you guys get back to, yeah, sure thing, Bill. So here, let me see if this will fit in chat by itself. Yeah, and like I said, if you have any questions, just hit me up on LinkedIn, and I will say thanks, Amitesh. I will send you whatever you need. And otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Hope this was helpful. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next week if you'd like. We're going to be talking about how to use AI to spot some competitive advantages in your content versus your competitors. Very, very good process that I'm just rolling out with people literally this week. Okay, take care, folks. We will speak soon. Bye bye.